This is a video for my watercolor basics category on my website. There's lots on there, and basically it's the basic skills you need to paint loose watercolors. They're not necessarily easy as in basic, but you need to know these. So check out my website if you want to watch some of the other ones. They're all on there available for you on tier 2. And don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe if you enjoy this video. This is a Seago painting, which we're just going to take inspiration from. So I'm just going to treat this as a sketch, and when I say beginner or watercolor basics or beginner basics, don't be confused that this is a basic skill that is easy. This is incredibly difficult, and but what I mean by basic is you need to know how to do it if you want to be successful in watercolor. So what I've just done there is just dropped a bit of water on in places. Now I'm just going to put very watery blue on there, but it's mixed in with some other paint on there. So this is value 1 on the scale. And when I say scale, I'm referring to this scale here. So between 1 and 2 in the sky is what I'm looking for here. And just as he's done, this was probably done out on location as a sketch, and maybe thinking I'll build this up to a bigger painting in the future. I just happen to have a bit of warmth on here, so that's just a greyed yellow ochre, which I'll just put in there like he's done. And these master studies are so valuable because obviously they were masters, so there's a lot of good stuff to learn here. So another watercolor basic you need to know is to accept that watercolor does its own thing. Pointless trying to replicate this as a master study, that it will never work. All you can do is do your own painting but take inspiration from it. What you can do is you can replicate his tonal values, and get the colors as close as you can, but again you won't get the colors exact. So slightly darker in blue down here, still just using cobalt blue with leftover stuff in the paint here on the palette. So a little bit of white sparkle behind. You'll notice that Seago has left lots of little bits of white paper coming through, and where the main elements are going to be here, the boat, he's left white of the paper because that's going to give maximum contrast. And you'll notice they do this all the time in their paintings. That's another watercolor basic, is how to compose a painting and what elements to put in and leave out. So this is just on scrap paper. This isn't designed to be anything other than a demo for you and for me to learn. So I know the sky is probably still damp up there yet, so I can just go a little bit darker up there and see how there's no line from the sea to the sky there. It just connects up. Another, see, there's going to be a big range of these watercolor basics because it's just so much to cover. But knowing when to work on areas, when to stop. The paper is still damp here, I can work on it. But as soon as it starts to dry, like say that's too dry, I wouldn't work on it. So it's now at the stage where I don't want to do any more to it. So I'll just let that dry. But what have we achieved here so far is we've painted the sky and the sea. Very loose, lots of white paper coming through, which is giving it that vibrancy and watercolor look to it. And we've allowed the lightest tone to be here, which is where the darkest tones are going to go. So that will be where the eye will go straight to the boats and add contrast. So let's dry that off, because we need to know if we want to put in that distant landmass there, we want fairly crisp edges. But if I try to do it now, they're just going to soften too much. So we need to know the paper needs to be dry. Size of this, it's probably about 7 by 10 inches. So slightly darker in tone, but not much. You could probably almost use the same tone, probably the same tones I did here. Here will be fine. So notice he hasn't got a dead straight line. He's got it interesting, broken up a little bit. It just adds to the scene. And then that's going to go across here. Same for the top here. No super tidy line like that. It's just interesting. just adds more to it. And I'll just use some of this watery yellow grey. I'll just go across here and just paint into there. Just pull that across there. Just let it mix into there. I've got a bit of a bead here, so I'll just dry my brush off and I'll just mop up the water there. So can work on the boats now. So we'll perhaps just dry this off here because we don't want the boats to melt into that. I've pretty much dried that. It's still maybe slightly damp. I'm just going to dab it with a tissue just to lighten the tone a little bit. Maybe that was a bit too much. Just dry that off. I fiddled with that a little bit. That's a good lesson of what not to do. I should just left it as it was, but it happens. But I've ended up with a bit of a line there. But if I try to do more to it, it'll be scrap the paper and start again. But what I can do is I can paint boats over it. You're better off, rather than try and scrub at something or try and take it away, paint something over the top of it. So we'll do that now, just to show you. So we put boat there. Let's go a little bit darker. Use the burnt sienna and the blue. And I think, you know, if you paint watercolours like me, you'll be making mistakes all the time. So I haven't done any pencil drawing. This is all with the brush. So that's boats off in the distance there. A few little reflections. And again, don't try and replicate his boats off in the distance. Make your own. And don't get too fiddly with it. Now there's boats overlapping there a little bit maybe. So when you're drawing with the paintbrush, you're probably going to be looser than you would if you were doing it with a pencil. So that's the idea. So say for instance, this first larger boat here, or what he probably did was squint with his eyes and just looked at what did he see. He saw a shape that's got a little bit of a higher point there. It then comes down to a flat edge. And that's it. That's a boat off in the distance. Just steer that a little bit more towards blue. And then again, what have we got here? We've got just a shape. With a few stray lines. And then a few wavy lines underneath. So mop that up. And that's it. That's the loose boat off in the distance. And then we've got one beside it. Which I'm just going to add a little bit of burnt umber into that blue. Slightly thicker paint now. So I thought there's actually 3 boats, but there's actually 2 big boats here. So what have we got here? There's a little shape like that. That's the back of the boat. And you can just do this with pencil if you wanted to, but you know, it's good practice to have a go at doing this with the brush. These Skoda perlers are great for this because it's got a point. But just look at the shape. You know, and don't expect to get this looking great first time. You know, this is, say, it's a basic watercolor skill you need, but it's not easy if you want to, say, paint these loose watercolors, and you know, it will come. Let's just add a bit of yellow ochre. Pick up something warm. Doesn't matter. So that when you're doing these exercises, honestly, it doesn't matter what color you're using. It's the total value. I just see a little square at the back there, and then there's a banana shape, which is obviously the sail. At the back there's a little vertical there, and then there's a larger shape. And the more you can do it confidently like that, and the reason I can do that confidently is because I'm not trying to replicate what's there. I'm just taking inspiration from it. And we've got some rigging. Again, these brushes are great for doing that. You know, this is all completely wrong, but I'm sure if Seago painted a master study of his own painting, it would be different to what he's got there. And you know, I think that could be what holds a lot of people back, is that striving for making it perfect. Whereas I think a loose watercolor, a good one, is not perfect. Just wiggly lines there. And the reason why you need to be able to confidently do this is because you're doing it all the time in your painting. You know that you may start with an accurate drawing, but you soon lose the drawing. So, you know, how many times have we been there where you've lost your drawing and then you can't finish the painting, or you know, your painting goes wrong? Whereas if you got the confidence to paint it, zoom out so you can actually see what I'm painting. Not sure what they are, they're just a couple of blobs off in the distance. Resist that urge to fiddle. It's got a little bit of red into that dark. I think I would like to go a little bit darker with that sail. Very rarely see seagulls in Seago's paintings. I don't know where that is. So there we go. That's all you need to do, is just practice stuff like that. Just dry it off. Forget about perfection. You know, this is why Seago's painting looks so good, because it is loose. It's just a suggestion, an impression of those boats. And the main element is keeping the white of the paper, keep that light sparkle and that confident look to it. You know, you can be a very inaccurate drawing, but if it's painted confidently, you'll get away with it. So there you go. Hopefully you found this useful. So take a look at my website. The link's in the description, and you can join me on tier 2 and have access to lots of videos and join in with our community. Until next time, bye for now.